The Commercial Written FARs category, Part 2. According to 14 CFR Part 61, what is required for a person to serve as PSC in a turbojet-powered airplane? A PSC proficiency check within the past 12 months. Refer to Figure 52.8. Oh, let's make this smaller. You're en route to Auburn Airport on a night flight, VFR, when the AWOS is reporting 2 statute mile visibility due to fog. What is the minimum required visibility for entering the traffic pattern at 1,000 feet above ground level? 3 statute miles, because 1,000 feet visibility would be above this class Golf, that would be class Echo at night. The approach controller has informed you that lasso operations are being conducted and the available landing distance is 3,672 feet. Your landing calculations indicate that you need 4,150 feet of runway to land. Can you accept a lasso clearance? No, you must be able to safely land and stop the aircraft within the available landing distance. You have 25 takeoffs and landings in the last 45 days in a multi-engine airplane. In order to carry passengers today as PIC, you have currency for multi-engine airplane only. You have a commercial pilot certificate, and you plan to operate as PIC of an airplane weighing over 12,500 pounds, carrying passengers. What additional requirements must be met? You must obtain a type rating for the aircraft before you operate as PIC. Which of the following would be grounds to revoke an airman certificate? Any state or federal narcotic conviction. You're giving sightseeing flights for a charitable organization at an air show. What authorization is required? No authorization is required, but you need to notify the local FSDO. During your pre-flight inspection, you notice that the airspeed indicator is indicating 50 knots at all times. According to 14 CFR Part 91, is this aircraft able to be flown in VFR conditions? No, the airspeed indicator is a required instrument for VFR flight. During your pre-flight inspection, you notice that your ELT was last inspected 13 months ago. According to 14 CFR Part 91, is this aircraft airworthy? The aircraft is not airworthy unless the ELT has been properly inspected. On your pre-flight inspection, you notice that one of the shoulder harnesses is broken. You may not have a passenger or crew occupy that seat with the inoperative shoulder harness. You're PIC of a flight and the passenger shows up who is clearly intoxicated. What can you do? Do not allow the passenger to board the aircraft. You've been asked to fly over a public event. Are you allowed to drop candy to the crowd? Yes, if you determine it does not pose a hazard to persons or property. You're flying over water beyond power off gliding distance from shore. You're required to carry at least one pyrotechnic signaling device. You're flying a VFR cross-country to an airborne Class C airspace. ATC informs you that your transponder appears to be inoperative. Can you continue your flight and land at your destination? Yes, if you receive a deviation to enter Class C. You discover that your transponder is on the ground. What must you do before flying to a repair facility in Class B airspace? You must contact the ATC facility with jurisdiction of the Class B airspace to request a deviation. Your PIC conducting a pre-flight inspection with the aircraft owner prior to a cross-country flight. Who is responsible for determining that the aircraft is airworthy? The PIC. What information is required to be entered into an aircraft maintenance record by persons returning an aircraft to service following an annual inspection? The maintainer's certificate number and signature. You're planning a cross-country flight. One of the passengers wants to use her electronic tablet to read. Is this allowed? Yes, if you determine it will not interfere with the communication and navigation systems. You're planning an IFR flight. One of your passengers has a heart pacemaker. Is this passenger allowed to fly on the aircraft? Yes, heart pacemakers are allowed. With the following information, may this small reciprocating single-engine airplane be used for an instructional flight for hire? No. The 100-hour inspection was due at 5,114 service hours. What action is the pilot in command required to take if their second in command becomes incapacitated due to chest pains in flight? Notify the NTSB immediately. Your PIC, you encounter an in-flight flight control malfunction. You should immediately report it to the NTSB. According to 14 CFR Part 91, what may you find in the maintenance records? Total time on the aircraft, each engine, each propeller, and rotors. What is the flight visibility required in Class Echo airspace above 10,000? 5 statute miles. You're a required flight crew member. As a crew member, you are required to have your shoulder harness fastened during takeoff and landing. You're flying over water beyond power-off gliding distance from shore. You're required to carry an approved flotation device for each passenger. You've performed 15 takeoff and landings in a single-engine land airplane within the last 60 days. This satisfies PIC recency requirements for single-engine land. Your PIC carrying passengers back from a football game. One appears to be intoxicated. Can you carry that passenger? No, you may not carry an intoxicated passenger. You're about to depart on a flight from where you realize the last transponder inspection was 14 months ago. Can you fly the aircraft? Yes, it's within the 24 months required. Under what condition would an aircraft engine logbook show no previous operating history? When the aircraft's engine has been rebuilt by the manufacturer. After an aircraft has been altered in a manner that changes its flight characteristics, what must be accomplished before carrying passengers? An operational check by any appropriately rated pilot with at least a private pilot's license. You're a PIC of a small single-engine reciprocating engine prop aircraft and wants to know if you can fly an instructional flight for hire. Here's the maintenance data. And you cannot. No, the 100-hour inspection was due at 6,320 hours. To act as PIC of a complex aircraft, what additional rating is required? Receiving and log ground and flight training in such airplane and obtain a logbook endorsement certifying proficiency. When flying during night VFR conditions, your aircraft must have approved position flights. You have 25 takeoffs and landings in the last 45 days in a single-engine airplane. In order to carry passengers today as a PIC, you have currency for a single-engine airplane only. You're planning a flight that will require you to operate in an altitude of 13,500 feet for 45 minutes. According to 14 CFR Part 91, when must the required flight crew use supplemental oxygen? Whenever the flight time exceeds 30 minutes at this altitude. Refer to figure 52.8. Departing from Auburn at night and not remaining in the pattern, what is the required visibility? 3 statute miles. For planning a VFR night cross-country and carrying passengers, according to 14 CFR Part 91, 151, how much fuel must you carry? Enough fuel to reach your destination plus an additional 45 minutes. When are you required to operate the anti-collision lighting system? You're required to operate the anti-collision lighting system during both day and night operations. You may not act as a crew member in an aircraft within 8 hours of consuming an alcoholic beverage or with a blood alcohol level of 0.04 or greater. What flight time must a commercial pilot record when exercising the privileges of their pilot certificate? Only the flight time and experience that shows the pilot means the aeronautical experience to act as a pilot crew member. Under 14 CFR Part 91, can a pilot who holds a commercial pilot certificate with airplane multi-engine, land category, and class, serve as second in command of a multi-engine turbojet in domestic operations. No, a type rating is required for this specific airplane. Your PIC of an aircraft that experiences an in-flight fire, electrical fire in flight. You're required to do which of the following? Notify NTSB immediately. Has the PIC of the flight which is required to be part of your pre-flight preparation. Review runway lengths at airports of intended use. You're acting as PIC of a flight for a charity. This year the charity is dropping small numbered balloons on a golf course from the aircraft. Are you allowed to do this? Yes, you're not prohibited from dropping objects, provided reasonable precautions are taken against reasonable hazards to persons or property. Refer to figure 52.8. What's the minimum flight visibility needed to land at Auburn at night under VFR? You need 3 stat 2 miles of visibility. Refer to figure 52.8. You're flying northeast on Victor 392-494 at 11,500 feet MSL. What is the airspace classification and VFR visibility and cloud clearance requirements? Class Echo airspace requires 5 stat 2 miles, 1,000 feet above, 1,000 feet below, and 1 mile horizontal distance from clouds. You're operating VFR in mountainous terrain at 18,500 feet MSL. Do you need to file an IFR flight plan, even if you maintain VMC? Yes, this flight must be conducted under IFR. You're planning a flight to an airport with lasso operations? Where should you find the available landing distance in the chart supplement? You're the pilot in command of an aircraft that's overtaking another aircraft. Which statement is correct? The aircraft you're overtaking has the right of way. Unless otherwise authorized, which situation requires ADSB? Departing from an airport within Class C airspace. Refer to figure 52, Area 6. You're planning a flight departing from Sacramento Mather Airport. Oh. ADSB out is not required due to the airspace designation of the airport. Where may an aircraft that's not equipped with ADSB out operate within Class C airspace if an ATC authorized deviation is requested at least 1 hour in advance and is granted. In accordance with 14 CFR Part 91, an operative equipment under the approved MEL must be placarded as an op by the PIC. In the contiguous U.S., excluding the airspace at and below 2,500 feet AGL, the following aircraft equipment is required above 10,000 feet MSL. An operable coded transponder equipped with Mode C capability. You're in an aircraft flying at 10,000 feet in Class E airspace. The required flight visibility is 5 stat 2 miles. Your PIC of an aircraft being overtaken by another aircraft. Which aircraft has the right of way? The aircraft being overtaken. What maintenance can a certified pilot without an airframe and power plant certificate conduct? Any maintenance that does not involve complex assembly work. You're the owner of a U.S. registered turbojet airplane weighing less than 12,500 pounds, and you operate for leisure. How often does the airplane need to be inspected? At least every 12 calendar months. In which circumstances are you expected to promptly contact ATC? You cannot comply with the lasso clearance. You have received your commercial pilot certificate with airplane multi-engine and instrument airplane ratings. Can you serve as PIC in a turbojet-powered airplane? No, you need a type rating. What publication could you check to determine if the airport conducts land and hold short operations? The chart supplement. A pilot can decline a lasso if it appears safety is compromised. Concerning ELTs have rechargeable batteries, when should you recharge the battery within the ELT? When 50% of their useful life has been expired. When are non-rechargeable ELT batteries required to be replaced? When 50% of their useful life has expired. What kind of transponder is required to operate in the contiguous U.S. above 10,000 feet MSL, excluding the airspace at and below 2,500 feet AGL? An operable coded transponder equipped with Mode C capability.